Out of nowhere, a semi-truck smashed into Dr. Michael Shannon's car at high speed. Dr. Shannon found himself barely conscious and unable to escape, his legs trapped in the crumpled wreckage. Luckily, emergency responders were on the scene within minutes, led by paramedic Chris Trokey. As the flames started to spread through the car, melting Michael's shoes, Chris's team helped free him, and he was taken to a nearby hospital. Thanks to Chris, Dr. Shannon survived the ordeal, but this was not the first time the two men had met in a life-or-death situation.
What do you mean?
More than 30 years previously, Chris was born dangerously premature. Weighing just 3 pounds, he was cared for in a local neonatal intensive care unit. With just a 50% chance of survival, baby Chris was devotedly tended to by an exceptional doctor who spent nights at his bedside. The doctor even saved Chris's life when he was overcome by fever. That attentive and loving doctor was Michael Shannon, the very man Chris would later rescue from a near-fatal car wreck. That dying baby Dr. Shannon gave a second chance at life to return the favor in the most incredible way. Not by saving him immediately like some kind of super baby, but by growing into the man who saved his life. But as far as mind-blowing good karma's concerned, we're just getting started. When a loose dog in the neighborhood charged his little sister, 6-year-old Bridger Walker leapt between them and was viciously mauled. Despite sustaining serious facial injuries, once the dog finally stopped biting him, he grabbed his sister's hand and led her somewhere safe. When later asked about his selfless reaction, he said something that'll break your heart. "If someone had to die, I thought it should be me." Someone grabbed the tissues, dang it. The poor kid's harrowing story, which occurred in 2020, soon reached the papers, and while his 90 stitches were healing up, Bridger began receiving messages from some other heroes. Comms began pouring in from the likes of Tony Stark himself, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor.
I just want to say, mate, you're an absolute inspiration. Your courage is beyond belief.
And Chris Evans even sent Bridger one of Captain America's shields. Best of all, Tom Holland invited Bridger to the set of Spider-Man: No Way Home, where he met the cast and went home with one of Spidey's authentic masks. Suitable costume for a hero like this, I'd say. After a long period struggling to find work, a fellow by the name of Jimmy, a trained mechanic, finally landed an interview. While waiting at the bus stop on the morning of the interview, Jimmy spotted an elderly man struggling to get his car up and running. Though he didn't have much time before his interview, Jimmy couldn't bear to watch the older man struggle and offered to help. After fixing the car up, the old man was overjoyed. He offered Jimmy payment, which he refused. Keen to repay Jimmy's kindness in some way, the old man offered to drive him to his interview. Seeing as he was running late, Jimmy accepted. The old man dropped him off, and with a slightly odd, knowing smile, drove off. Walking into his interview, Jimmy felt a little self-conscious. His hands were still a little dirty from fixing the car, and the only suit he could afford wasn't as well-fitting as the other candidates. But none of that mattered in the slightest when he entered the office for his interview. Because who was sitting there waiting for him but the general manager of the company, the very man whose car he'd just repaired. With his strength of character already demonstrated, he was hired on the spot. In 2017, Karma rewarded retired nurse David Knowles almost instantly. David, who offers voluntary medical assistance at public events, was teaching a CPR class to a local church group. When he went red and fell to the floor, a confused group assumed he was acting out a scenario like the ones they'd discussed in class. Luckily, Carol Chu, one of his students, had been paying close attention to David's teachings and realized something was amiss. The 77-year-old went into cardiac arrest and abruptly stopped breathing, prompting Carol to perform emergency CPR and resuscitation. In an incredible twist of fate, Carol saved David's life with the very procedures he'd just taught her. Knowles dedicated his free time to helping others learn how to save lives, and Karma ensured that his invaluable teaching was rewarded in the most fitting way. In 2024, Domino's worker Joey Grundle was out delivering pizza when he noticed something seriously concerning. As a customer opened their door, a woman sporting a nasty black eye stood behind him, mouthing the words, "Call the police," to Joey. Returning to his car, Joey called the police.
Verified. Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, so I'm a delivery driver for Domino's, and I had a delivery, and it was some middle-aged couple, and it looked like the woman clearly had a black eye, and she pointed to it, and I swear she mouthed, "Help me," and then as I was leaving, I swear she also said, "Call the police," like she mouthed it.
The police swiftly arrived and ultimately arrested the man, and thank God they did. It turned out he was Dean Hoffman, the woman's ex-boyfriend, who had broken into her home, demanding that she get back with him. When he didn't get what he wanted, he attacked her and threatened to bring both of their life stories to a permanent close. Despite this, he still found an appetite to order pizza, which thankfully proved his downfall. But if Joey hadn't been paying attention, things could have clearly gone much, much worse. Following his act of heroism, Joey appeared on TV on a news segment. Noticing that he was wearing a Taylor Swift hoodie, Swifties began tagging the star on social media. Once Taylor herself got wind of the situation, she arranged to meet him backstage at one of her shows. Joey described it as the most memorable week of his entire life. And because of him, a woman got to keep living hers. Wisconsin resident Jim Becker had been a fan of the Green Bay Packers since 1952. But seeing as he was a hard-working father of 11 and always put family first, he couldn't afford tickets to see the Packers play. In an attempt to save some pocket money for tickets, Becker regularly donated blood over 20 years at a clinic that paid $15 a pint. After years of generous donations, Becker's doctor discovered that he had an undiagnosed case of hemochromatosis, a rare genetic blood disorder that causes toxic buildup of iron in the gut and can be fatal if untreated. The only known treatment is to regularly donate blood to regularize iron levels, something which Becker had been doing for decades to afford his football tickets. As a reward for his regular donations and devotion to his family, Becker had unknowingly saved his own life. Billy Ray Harris was begging for coins in Kansas City when a passerby donated more than they intended to: her $4,000 diamond engagement ring, which fell off her finger into his donation pot. Rather than sell the ring for a small fortune, Harris chose to carefully protect the ring, hoping its owner would return to collect it. She did, just 2 days later, and touched by Ray's actions, she started an online fund to replace the $4,000 he could have gained from selling the ring. Amazingly, the buzz created by the story allowed the fundraiser to reach over $200,000. But money wasn't Harris's only reward. The online buzz also allowed him to reconnect with his long-lost family after 16 years apart, find stable housing, and receive multiple job offers. Thanks to his honesty despite having so little, Harris's life has been transformed by his good karma. Most cases of good karma we see take a little while to come into effect. But Isaiah Garza is out here ensuring that when good karma strikes, it's instant. This TikToker's content revolves around spreading random acts of kindness in a very unusual way. In his best vids, he typically approaches strangers pretending to be homeless, setting up for a mind-blowing reveal. And this is what happens.
I'm homeless right now, and I just wanted to see if there's any way you could possibly buy my lunch for me.
I can buy that.
I'm actually doing this thing today where I'm surprising strangers who show compassion and kindness to others. So I'm actually going to be paying for all your groceries today and giving you $500.
No.
I swear to you. And I wanted to see if you'd be able to, possibly buy my lunch for me.
Your lunch? Sure, of course.
I would love to buy you and your family's Christmas presents. I'm gonna give you guys $500. I just wanted to see if you had a couple extra bucks on you, possibly.
I do. Thank you.
It's for you.
Thank you.
Open it up.
Uh-oh.
It's $500 for you, sweetheart.
I'm behind in my rent. This will pay my rent. Thank you.
Oh, sweet.
Now this is the kind of prank I can get behind. Testing people's compassion and then instantly rewarding them? Heck yeah! Isaiah's done a bunch of other good deeds, like taking a 100-year-old veteran on a surprise trip to Disneyland. So here's hoping good karma comes back around to him again and again. The Bank of England is one of the oldest financial institutions in the world. Since 1734, it has occupied a 3.4-acre site in London's Threadneedle Street, where the iconic building conceals 8 subterranean vaults filled with gold. With 8-foot-thick walls, specially designed keys to each vault, a state-of-the-art protection system, and recently added voice recognition tech, it's no surprise that the bank hasn't been robbed in its 325-year history. That is, apart from the time that its defenses were breached by an enterprising security worker, entirely by coincidence. Back in 1836, the directors of the Bank of England received an anonymous letter in which the author claims to have direct access to the gold in the bank. At first, they assumed the letter to be a joke and chose to ignore it, but then they received another one, this time offering to meet them at a time of their choosing inside the main vault. The directors still thought it was impossible that someone could have broken in, but they decided to agree to the meeting anyway. So one evening, they gathered inside the vault when suddenly, right on time, a man popped up from beneath the floorboards. According to the man, he was a sewer worker who had been working on repairs close to the Bank of England site at Threadneedle Street. During a routine inspection, he had unwittingly discovered an old drain that led directly underneath the gold vault, inside the bank itself. After a quick stock take, the directors found that the well-meaning man had not taken anything from the vault. As a reward for his honesty, the man was given £800. That's over $100,000 today, which would have changed his life for good. Whoever he was, he seems like a better man than most. But what would you have done if you found the vault? When Dominique Harrison Benson lost her bank card after a night on the town in Preston, England, the prospect of finding a way home with no cash seemed like a daunting, impossible task. But when a homeless man named Robbie noticed her distress, he offered Dominique his last £3 for her to get a taxi home. It was the only money he had to his name, but to him, the safety of the young woman was more important. Dominique was so touched by the gesture, she started a funding page for the man, whose story soon spread across social media. Before she knew it, Dominique had raised an astonishing £32,559 for Robbie and the rest of the homeless community in Preston. The money made a huge difference to the lives of countless people living rough in the town, and all came from a humble offer of £3. When Harman Singh heard tires screech and a sickening thud outside his apartment in 2015, nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to see. A 6-year-old boy had just been hit by a car and was lying flat on the road. Harman rushed out into the street in Auckland, New Zealand to help. Without a second's hesitation, he violated his own religious rules, stating Sikhs shouldn't remove their turbans in public, and used his headwear as a makeshift pillow for the boy. He stayed with him until medical support arrived, and after a stint in the hospital, the boy eventually made a full recovery. When Harman was interviewed by New Zealand's One News station about the incident, viewers noticed how sparsely furnished his home was, with garden chairs in his living room. As folks began pointing this out, the station collaborated with a local furniture store and decked out Harman's home free of charge. He was moved to tears by the outcome he'd never expected, much less hoped for. As far as Harman was concerned, he was just a guy looking out for someone in need of help. Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, doesn't it? Whoa! What's this? It's Nuh-Uh, the game that's taken trivia to a whole new level, and we've just leveled it up even more with not 1, not 2, but 3 brand new expansion decks. Get ready to test your smarts in history, pop culture, and geography. Each deck adding 200 new, super unique questions we've been hiding away for years. Whether you're a history buff, a pop culture guru, or a geography whiz, there's a deck for you. With its chaos-fueled twists, you'll be stealing cars, bluffing rivals, and soaking up the spotlight. And if trivia isn't your strong suit, hey, don't worry. All questions in Nuh-Uh are multiple choice, meaning eggheads and non-eggheads alike stand a chance, making it perfect for the whole family. We've toiled playtesting and tweaking Nuh-Uh for countless hours, and each and every game was its own fun, wacky adventure. And the game's printed to perfection and packed with gorgeous artwork, too. Look, that's me on the box there. So what are you waiting for? When Kayla Miller died in an ATV accident, his devastated family chose to donate his organs, turning their loss into something positive that could save lives. Among those to benefit from this decision was Jake McKinnon, a 19-year-old type 1 diabetic. The disease's impact on his pancreas meant he couldn't survive long-term without a new one. Receiving Callum's pancreas meant Jake could finally live life to the fullest, and the two affected families became close friends following the incident. A decade after Callum's death, his father became critically ill with his own case of diabetes, desperately needing a new kidney. Without hesitation, Jake McKinnon's mother, Janice, selflessly donated her kidney to Callum's father. In death, through an unusual union of friendship and fate, Callum inadvertently saved his father's life. In 1965, at a beach in Salem, Massachusetts, Alice Blaze selflessly dived into the sea to save a drowning 4-year-old boy who'd swum out too far. She brought him back to shore, and he walked away shaken but alive. 9 years later, the then teenage boy revisited the beach where he'd had his near-death experience. Upon arrival, he spotted a man struggling against the current in the same stretch of ocean where he'd once narrowly avoided death. The boy, now a strong swimmer, dove into the waves and rescued the drowning man, much to the relief of the man's wife. But the woman, it turned out, was no stranger. It was Alice Blaze, whose heroic actions had indirectly saved her own husband's life. There are plenty of amazing war stories out there, but I'll bet you've never heard the one about the World War II seaman and his lucky life belt. During the summer of 1942, Eglin Staples was a crewman on the USS Astoria, which was in the fight for the control of Guadalcanal. After completing his watch one night, Staples was awoken by an explosion of enemy fire above deck. He instinctively threw his life belt on before going to help. But the deck quickly gave way, plunging him into the water. After floating for 4 hours, he was eventually rescued by another U.S. ship, but his luck was still down because this one sunk too, depositing poor Staples back into the ocean. Once again, Staples' life was saved by his lucky life belt. When he examined the belt more closely, he noticed it hailed from his hometown of Akron, Ohio, so he decided to keep it as a souvenir. It was a choice that would eventually reveal an absolutely insane case of karma on the part of his family. While sharing his stories with his families after the war, Staples' mother proudly declared that she'd also done her part by working at a local Firestone plant, which manufactured life belts. Things went from coincidental to downright freaky when Staples' mother inspected the belt and noticed her own inspector's number on it, which means she had personally approved and stamped the very device that had saved her son's life twice. After narrowly escaping an awful crash in 2009 with his life, NASCAR driver Ryan Newman relentlessly campaigned for the organization to update its safety standards. This came to fruition in the years that followed, with the implementation of new rules requiring NASCAR vehicles to include sturdy, reinforced bars above their windows. This would reduce the risk of drivers being crushed in the instance that another car lands on top of theirs, or if the car is flipped upside down. Newman was, of course, pleased with the outcome, but he never anticipated how important it would prove to be. In 2013, the sturdy upgrade came into play when a car flipped during a race and landed directly on top of Newman's. The added protection may well have been the difference between life and death that day, but it came into play again during another race in February 2020. This time, Newman's car flipped upside down and was dragged along the track. Had the roof not been reinforced, it could have easily collapsed, crushing Newman to death. Thanks to his efforts to improve safety for his fellow drivers and himself, Ryan Newman may well have saved his future self's life twice. Karma doesn't just reward those who help other humans. It works for the saviors of animals, too. John Byrne, a homeless man from Dublin, had a pet rabbit named Barney to keep him company on the streets. But in a cruel, random attack in 2012, while John was begging on Dublin's O'Connell Bridge, a stranger snatched Barney and threw him into the river below. John jumped into action, diving into the river after his longtime animal companion. Once he'd retrieved Barney, John performed CPR, eventually reviving the rabbit, who John had presumed dead. Eventually, help arrived, bringing them both back to safety. Within days of the daring rescue, John received a Compassionate Citizen Award for going above and beyond to help an animal in need. His story touched the hearts of thousands of people nationwide, with many offering donations and food for both him and Barney. As for the rabbit's attacker, he got a dose of karma too, a 4-month jail sentence for cruelty to an animal. In 2015, a New Jersey waitress overheard 2 firefighters talking about their tough night shift and decided to use her own money to buy their breakfast. Grateful for her gift, they were determined to pay it forward. They soon discovered that despite her generous gift, she was the one in need. She'd previously set up a GoFundMe campaign to buy a wheelchair-accessible van for her disabled father, which she couldn't afford. The firefighters shared the post, which gained traction, eventually blasting the original $17,000 target out of the water and amassing a $40,000 total. A small gesture on her part changed both her and her father's lives for the better. A homeless man finds a check for $10,000 on the street. What do you think happens next? While the temptation to find a way to cash it, take the moolah, and run must be excruciatingly hard to resist for someone with nothing to their name, that's not the kind of guy Elmer Alvarez is. Elmer, from New Haven, Connecticut, may have had a different response a few years prior. But when he found the check in 2017, he was 3 years sober after taking a pledge to turn his life around in every aspect. So he tracked down the check's owner, a real estate broker, Roberta Hosky, and when she offered him a reward, he broke down in tears. Kindness was pretty foreign to him at this point, but little did he know the extent to which his good deed was about to come back around. Roberta was so moved by Elmer's kind-hearted personality that she helped him find an apartment and paid his rent until he was back on his feet. Not only that, she also put him through real estate school, and they launched a company together overseeing the construction of transitional houses for homeless teenagers and young adults, alongside providing other essential services to the vulnerable. One good deed from Elmer at the right time not only turned his life around, but also the lives of an unlimited number of other down-on-their-luck folks. An incredible stroke of good karma fell upon one Alabama teacher in 2018. Teacher Amanda spent hours on buses every day to get to her job, as she was unable to afford her own vehicle on her salary. Never complaining, she continued to journey to work every day with undying enthusiasm for the learning of her young students. Knowing her students valued her incredible teaching was enough repayment for her. But when one student's wealthy parents noticed their daughter's adoration of her teacher and heard about the arduous journey she took every day, they decided to help. They bought Amanda a brand new car as a thank you for her dedication and for the exceptional care and attentiveness she'd shown to their daughter. The video shows the genuine, heartwarming surprise of someone who expects nothing in return for her passion and kindness.
No more sitting in the cold, no more riding the bus, no more waiting on somebody to come and pick me up. Yeah, no more of any of those things. No more. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
In the late 90s, a kid from Lancaster, New York, called Kevin, was acting as bat boy for his local Little League baseball team when something gut-wrenching occurred. While warming up, a player accidentally hit Kevin in the chest with a bat, the impact of which stopped the boy's heart completely. As panicked realization set in, one woman stepped up to the plate, Penny, a nurse, whose kid was on the team. She identified what was happening, carried out CPR, and miraculously brought Kevin back from the brink. If she hadn't been there, the poor kid would have died. But that's not the most shocking part. Years later, in 2006, that same nurse was eating at a restaurant when she began choking on her food. Panic once again spread as patrons were heard screaming for someone to help her. That's when a heroic volunteer firefighter hurried over, gave Penny the Heimlich maneuver, and successfully dislodged the food. This was astounding for a number of reasons. First, the firefighter was only 17, yet possessed the situational instincts of a man twice his age. Second, and much more bizarre, that firefighter was none other than Kevin, the boy Penny had saved years earlier. Needless to say, the pair were absolutely astounded when they realized their personal connection. If Penny hadn't saved Kevin, there might have been no one with the know-how to return the favor when she needed it. Two lives saved, entirely dependent on the other. Amazing, right? This next story comes from a commenter on one of our previous videos who shared his tale of meeting a woman on a long train journey. She was headed to the same town as he was for her granddaughter's birthday. But when they arrived at their destination, the scorching summer heat took its toll on the older woman, and the commenter noticed her struggling to keep balanced. Determined not to let her struggle alone, he booked her a cab and rode with her to her daughter's house, making sure she arrived safely before heading home himself. 3 months passed, and his good deed was all but forgotten to him until he lost his backpack, containing some valuables, at an amusement park. With no luck finding it, he was on the verge of giving up when a woman entered the Lost and Found office with her family. They'd found his backpack. As soon as they entered, our commenter was dumbstruck. He instantly recognized the person holding his bag as the daughter of the woman he'd helped months ago on that hot summer's day. It seems when good deeds come naturally to you, karma returns them by the bagful. In 2012, Reddit user Pusher91 shared a story of how a Chihuahua changed his life in the most unexpected of ways.
Say what?
While driving, he spotted a poster for a lost Chihuahua. 20 miles later, the little fella from the poster ran out in front of his car. Narrowly avoiding flattening the pooch, he picked it up and took it to its owner's house. The owners cried tears of joy at the return of their furry friend, and Pusher91 felt pretty good about the whole thing too. As he went to pull away though, his car stalled and wouldn't restart. The old hunk of junk was dead, but this turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Noticing the flatlining vehicle, the Chihuahua's owners offered a solution. Their daughter had just graduated college and were looking to sell her car. In their eyes, their beloved pet was payment enough, so they gave him the car in return.
Well, ain't that nice?
Who'd have thought that Chihuahuas would end up being karma's currency of choice? When several members of the Milwaukee Irons Motorcycle Club were involved in an accident in Chile, Indiana, Darren Sturch, an off-duty nurse, didn't hesitate to pull over to help. With the assistance of her young daughter, she made sure the bikers were safe and relatively comfortable while emergency services were on their way. They never forgot Darren's help and stayed in touch with her on Facebook. A year later, when the bikers saw a post from Darren showing her daughter's lemonade stand, they knew exactly what to do. To the amazement of both Darren and her daughter, an enclave of more than 30 leather-clad motorcyclists turned up to the lemonade stand, creating a spectacle that made international news. With their bikes parked nearby, they fueled up on fresh lemonade, making Darren's daughter's day, and returning Darren's help in a way she'd never forget. Usually, on the occasion we give money to the homeless, we don't expect anything in return, except maybe a warm feeling. But when Brandon Seddon gave a few dollars to a homeless man at a mall in Boise, Idaho, his return on investment was colossal and almost instantaneous. After his donation, he headed to a food store where his eye was caught by some scratch-and-win lottery tickets. Though he rarely bought lottery tickets, for some reason the urge seized Brandon on that afternoon, and he picks him up. Expecting little, he scratched away and was shocked to discover he'd won the store's top prize of $200,000. Usually, good karma can't be cashed in quite so literally, but after this, I've got a feeling Brandon Seddon will give to the homeless more often. Who knows, maybe it'll happen again. In January 2020, a chance meeting in Atlanta, Georgia changed the life of single mother LaTanya Young forever. LaTanya had her first child aged only 16, but that didn't stop her ambition to pursue a career in criminal justice. Unfortunately, when she'd very nearly completed her associate's degree at Georgia State University, the realities of single parenthood forced her to put her education on hold. Despite working as a hairdresser by day and an Uber driver by night to make ends meet, LaToya simply couldn't afford to pay to finish her degree. Her dream would have to be forgotten. That was until LaTanya provided an Uber for Kevin Esch. While driving Esch to his location, LaTanya recounted the story of her difficult life. When the trip was over, the two parted ways, and LaTanya never expected to see her friendly passenger again. But a few days later, she received a call from Georgia State, informing her she could register for her classes. Confused, LaTanya asked how this was possible when she hadn't paid. It turned out, her recent passenger had been so touched by her story, he'd paid for her to complete her degree. When graduation came around, he even attended the ceremony. Kevin Esch's generous act changed LaTanya's life forever and brought her one massive step closer to her dreams. If you've ever worked at a restaurant, you'll know it's often thankless work, full of rude, ungrateful customers.
How intelligent do you have to be to take a food order? Jesus!
But when a table of regulars at a Michigan restaurant caught wind of one incredibly attentive and hard-working waitress regularly being stiffed for tips, they decided to put it right. They tipped her $1,000. Here's how the random act of kindness unfolded.
Actually, I have 1,000.
Oh, wait, there's more.
I have 1,000 for you.
That's 1,000 for you, okay?
Are you serious, man?
Yes, I'm serious. Yes. I want people to know they need to be tipping you better. Yeah. You're working hard. You deserve more tips. Okay? You deserve this. For all the days that people didn't tip you, okay?
Now that's the reaction of someone you can tell could really use that extra money. Let's hope this kind of gesture encouraged more of the regulars to give that hard-working server the rewards she deserved. Or better yet, her manager gives her a raise. In 2019, 96-year-old Victor Coella found himself in front of a judge, accused of speeding. In truth, Coella's barely notable breaking of the speed limit had a heartbreaking explanation. Due to his age, Victor only drove when absolutely necessary, and for him, this covered taking his disabled, 63-year-old son for cancer treatment. When Judge Frank Caprio learned the reason for the speed, he overturned the charge, publicly praising Coella's incredible dedication to his child.
I wish you all the best. I wish the best for your son, and I wish you good health, and your case is dismissed. Good luck to you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm not crying, it's just allergies. In 2011, a Good Samaritan named Victor Giesbrecht stopped his pickup alongside a road to help two stranded women change their flat tire. Victor offered to help the two strangers when countless other drivers had passed them, then went on his way without expecting anything in return. When the two ladies saw his truck pulled over again down the road, curiosity and a sense of duty compelled them to check it out. They were shocked to find Victor mid-heart attack. Luckily, one of the ladies was a qualified nurse and immediately began CPR, saving his life. Victor's story proves that kindness repays itself many times over, and sometimes can even save your life. Some coincidences are definitely enough to make you believe in fate, like the amazing story of these long-lost sisters who were reunited in the most unexpected way. Holly Hoyle O'Brien, originally named Poknem Shin, was adopted by an American couple in 1978 when she was just 9 years old, and never forgot about her younger half-sister, who was taken by her stepmother. Holly's adoptive mother even called the orphanage where the sisters had lived, but they had no record of her biological sister. So young Holly started to lose hope. That is, until Holly landed a new job at Bayfront Health, Port Charlotte in 2015, working on the 4th floor with the medical surgical unit. 3 months later, Holly was scheduled to work a 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. shift and was joined by a new nurse named Megan Hughes, who was also from Korea. As the two women got to know each other better, it became clear that they shared too many similarities to ignore. That summer, a DNA test confirmed their suspicions. They were actually long-lost sisters.
Hot diggity dog!
What are the odds that choosing to save lives as a job would weave these siblings' lives back together? In this next karma moment, a biker in Hungary stopped his journey to pick up a loose plastic trash bag from the road for no reason other than looking out for the environment. He secured the bag near a bin in the convenience of the city's cleaners, who had presumably dropped it by mistake. In a heartwarming twist, the biker was instantly rewarded as a passerby handed him a cool drink as a thank you. I mean, that's assuming he wasn't secretly a drinks company promoter, but in the spirit of positivity, let's assume he wasn't. In 2019, one of the coolest things that could possibly occur to a kid happened to one very deserving girl by the name of Haley Richmond. You see, this New York City youngin' launched an initiative called Puzzles to Remember, which provided folks suffering from Alzheimer's disease with puzzles to keep their minds active. Haley noticed her own grandma, who had the disease, seemed to benefit from the visual stimulation and problem-solving involved, seemingly becoming a little sharper after spending time concentrating on a puzzle alongside her granddaughter. Haley also founded a support group specifically for kids whose relatives were suffering from Alzheimer's, the first of its kind in the U.S. As a result of her charitable efforts, Marvel Comics selected Haley to feature as a superhero in her very own comic book, written and illustrated by some of the company's finest creators. Her superpower of connecting with people whose minds had begun to fail them was put on full show. It was any kid's wildest dream come true, and no one was more deserving of it. Marvel also made comics for other compassionate kids, including kids leading post-hurricane cleanup efforts, helping the homeless, and overcoming physical disabilities. No doubt Stan Lee himself would be proud of these true believers.
Excelsior!
The tale of Glenn James is one of astonishing honesty and suitable reward. Glenn had been homeless for 12 years when he found a backpack in a Boston shopping mall in 2013. Inside was over $42,000 worth of cash and traveler's checks, a passport, and personal papers. He promptly handed it over to the police, and it was returned to its owner, a Chinese student who'd misplaced it while shopping. News of Glenn's good deeds spread, and people were so inspired and amazed by his honesty that an online fundraiser was set up. It raised $150,000 in 3 weeks, surpassing all goals and expectations, and changed Glenn's life forever. In a statement, Glenn explained his decision to hand over the bag, saying, "Even if I were desperate for money, I wouldn't have kept even a penny. I'm extremely religious, and God has always very well looked after me." Thanks to his honesty, he can now afford to start a new life outside of poverty. Whether through karma, God, or the mysterious will of our holy overlord Cthulhu, Glenn deservingly reaped the kindness he sowed. Curtis Jenkins is a school bus driver from Texas who understands just how profound a good bit of personal encouragement can be for children. This ethic guides his unique approach to his job, which sees him giving personally selected presents to the kids who ride his bus on special occasions like their birthdays. Curtis firmly believes that matching the right gift to the right pupil can inspire truly positive outcomes. For example, one girl wrote a short story and shared it with Curtis. In return, he printed the story's front cover onto a t-shirt for her, in the hopes that it'd inspire her to keep writing books. With thoughtful actions like these, it's not surprising the kids see him as an inspiring father figure. One kid, whose parents divorced, even stated he wished his dad could have been more like Curtis. The bus driver never sought any reward for his efforts, all of which came out of his own pocket. But his kindness was returned in 2019, after his story gained national media attention. An anonymous viewer reached out to the school and gifted Curtis with a brand new car. On top of that, he received a promotion and now teaches others how to have better student relationships. If only every bus driver was like Curtis. This next story was shared with us by a viewer who we'll call Shapiro. While working as a long-distance trucker, Shapiro spotted a woman on the side of the road, struggling to change a tire. He pulled over, helped her out, and got her gratefully on her way. As Shapiro completed his delivery for the day, he checked his bank balance and realized he was practically broke until payday, a few days away. While he was stress-pacing around his truck, about to ask his boss for a cash advance, he noticed something. There, pinned under a bungee cord on his truck's catwalk, were two $100 bills strapped firmly in place. Had the stranded woman left them there as thanks? Had a shady character at a truck stop stored the cash there to collect later? There were a million possibilities. All Shapiro knew was it was in his possession now, and it was going to get him through till payday. He chose to accept them as thanks for a good deed. In 2013, when Dr. Holly Black returned to her car after a family meal at a restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma, she was devastated to discover it had been broken into. Her doctor's bag full of personal items and irreplaceable research had been taken, presumably never to be seen again. But a few days later, Dr. Black was astonished to receive a call from a stranger who'd found some of her research after the thieves discarded it. This stranger, a homeless man named Rayburn West, gathered up the papers and returned them safely to her. Touched, Dr. Black's husband posted about the events on Reddit, and soon donations started pouring in to help the homeless shelter Rayburn frequented. Hundreds of dollars and donated items later, the power of an online community selflessly uniting for the good of strangers became undeniably clear. While receiving good karma is often a matter of blind luck, sometimes it comes down to right people, right time. And one longtime employee at Rufino's restaurant in Louisiana certainly had the right people around him when his car was stolen in 2018. They didn't just help him with the bus fare, they clubbed together and bought him this.
But we got you a little something.
That's right, a whole new set of wheels. The guy had been a loyal, hardworking member of the staff, and everybody wanted him to know how much they valued him. Man, the nicest thing my colleagues ever did for me was only stealing half of my sandwiches. For university students in the USA, the tradition of having a personalized ring made to celebrate graduating allows for a constant reminder of their achievements and experiences in college. Losing a class ring, though, would be pretty devastating. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to Catherine Kenyon in 2017. After searching high and low for her treasured ring, to no avail, she was forced to give up the search. While studying for a PhD at the same college in 2020, however, Catherine made a discovery. In the college parking lot, she found a class ring, sadly not her own, and after some investigation returned it to the overjoyed owner who'd lost it 4 years prior. A mere 2 weeks later, a truly bizarre coincidence occurred. Catherine was contacted by someone who had, by chance, found her old ring and tracked her down in the same way she'd done a fortnight before. This kind of college karma really has a ring to it. Cleaning up litter-laden natural areas can be a thankless task. And as for the nature of volunteering, it doesn't tend to pay in a monetary sense. But for Redditor Morty's Mindblowers, who was inspired to clean their local beach after the #TrashTag trend of 2019, the payout was as financial as it was emotionally rewarding. They found this Australian $50 note among the litter on the beach, which made a difficult yet meaningful morning's work just a teensy bit better. Ebonimom, who shared this next incredible story in our YouTube comments, made it her personal mission to rescue any lost puppies she came across. When she found a runaway Yorkie in the street, she tracked down its owners and returned it to them, as they cried tears of relief to see their fluffy pal alive and well. Fast forward 2 months, and Ebony's own Maltese pup vanished while playing in the backyard. She searched high and low for her little buddy, but to no avail, leaving her the heartbreaking task of uploading lost dog posts on her town's social media pages. A week later, there's a knock on the door. In a shocking twist, not only is Ebony's lost dog there to greet her, but he's in the arms of the same woman whose Yorkie Ebony had returned a while back. It turned out, after seeing the lost dog posts online, the lady had recognized Ebony and had taken it upon herself to print out a ton of missing posters and pop them up all over town. She then took 2 days off work and spent them walking door to door, speaking to pretty much everyone in town for any leads. Eventually, she found Ebony's Maltese pooch and returned it. As far as the kind lady was concerned, she was merely returning the favor. Man, if only the rest of the world was half as nice as these two dog lovers. Instead of tolerating dry conversations this Thanksgiving with your know-it-all Uncle Kev, put him in his place with a well-timed nuh-uh. This Black Friday, you can get all decks bundled together for a whopping 35% discount for our quickest and most loyal fans only. Click the link in the description or on screen now to order your copy today. Nuh-uh makes an excellent gift this Thanksgiving. Our stock is limited, so order now while supplies last. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you enjoyed this video, check out the darker side of the karma coin with our Bad Karma series. It's even more satisfying. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Catch you next time.